Death at Rottingdean, Chapter 5. May no ill dreams disturb my rest, nor powers of darkness me molest. Rudyard Kipling, The Phantom Rickshaw. Kate shivered into her woolen jacket as she and Charles stood on the windy height above the shingle, watching as a pair of men and one small boy stoutly hauled the body of a dead man out of the water and onto the beach, as if it were a harpooned whale that the sea was loath to yield. "Drowned, it would seem," said the gentleman on the other side of Charles. He was dressed in a grey tweed knickerbockers and jacket and a grey bowler, and was holding a small box camera. He aimed it carefully, pushed a button, and took a photograph of the scene on the beach. "I have heard it said that the natives along this coast, when they turn despondent, are driven by the powers of darkness to jump off the cliff and into the sea." He spoke somewhat stiffly and with a pronounced accent. Perhaps he was French or Belgian. Kate thought French, most likely, with those pale blue eyes. Kate shivered again, and Charles put his arm around her. "If you're cold," he said, "we can go back and warm ourselves." "No," Kate said, but she was grateful for the shelter of Charles's arm and leaned against him, looking sadly at the sodden bundle on the beach. "I was just wondering what might drive a man to take his own life in a place so beautiful and peaceful." "Beautiful and peaceful it is, ma'am," said the photographer, and bowed with a smart flourish, clicking the heels of his polished black boots. "In truth, this quaint little village is of such beauty and peace that I think an extended stay might be rewarding. I beg your pardon for the inquiry, but I wonder if you know of suitable accommodations in vicinity. The house Juliet, perhaps?" And he bowed again. "I'm afraid not," Charles said, his eyes at the scene of the beach. "We just arrived yesterday." The man seemed to be unaffected by what was going on. "You are here on a holiday?" he asked Kate. Kate did not answer. She looked down toward the beach. "Charles, that man coming up from the pier," she said. "He's waving at us." "Ah, Kipling," Charles exclaimed, and went to the top of the stairs to greet the man. "Kipling, my dear old chap, how very good to see you again." "You too, Sheridan," the man said. He was short and slender, with gold-rimmed eyeglasses perched on a firm nose under bristling black brows, over a mustache as black as a boot-brush. He was rather dark-skinned, as if he had a touch of Indian blood. He smiled. "Pardon, please. I understand that you are now to be addressed Lord Somersworth." Charles grinned. "Charles will do most nicely, thank you, Rod. And I've decided to retain my family name, which has served me quite well for my lifetime." "You are not changed by your elevation, then," Kipling said, returning the grin. "Uncle Ned told me you'd be down, and sorry he is detained in London. I trust you are well settled. Seabrook House, is that where you are?" "Yes, it's quite comfortable. How many years has it been since Lahore, Rod?" 10? 12, I make it," Kipling replied. "Mia in 85, when the Fusiliers were stationed. I was turning out articles on army life, and you were tying up the loose ends of my military career," Charles said. He turned to Kate. "Kate, I should like you to meet Mr. Rudyard Kipling. Kipling, Rudd, my wife, Catherine." "Lady Sheridan," Kipling said, and bowed. "Kate, please," she said happily. It wasn't every day that she was privileged to meet an author as famous as Mr. Kipling and as highly respected. Everyone who had read Recessional was loud in its praise, although she much preferred the stories. "I do so admire your work, Mr. Kipling. Of your stories, The Phantom Rickshaw is my favorite." She paused and then quoted in a low voice, "It is an awful thing to go down quick among the dead with scarcely one half of your life completed. It is 1,000 times more awful to wait as I do in your midst, for I know not what unimaginable horror. Pity me, at least, on the score of my delusion, for I know you will never believe what I have written here. Yet as surely as ever a man was done to death by the powers of darkness, I am that man." "Good heavens," Kipling said, startled. "You have it by heart. Extraordinary." "My wife is a writer as well," Charles said, and Kate felt herself going red. "Hardly as well," she said quickly. "No one in the entire world writes as well as Mr. Kipling." Kipling threw back his head and laughed uproariously. "Clever," he said. "Very clever, Kate, but you must call me Rod or Ruddy, for I see that we're going to become friends very quickly. Pardon me, but what sort of writer are you?" "A pseudonymous writer," Kate replied. It would hardly be to Charles' advantage for his opponents in Parliament to know that what his wife does for amusement. "She writes murder stories," Charles said, sotto voce. "Charles!" Kate exclaimed, but it was true. Before she came to England, she had earned her living writing penny dreadfuls for the American popular press. Now she wrote what she liked to think of as suspenseful fiction for the British press, with rather more psychological interest than blood and violence. "Murder stories," Kipling said. Well, you must allow me to read one or two of them." "Perhaps you have," Charles replied. "Her pen name is Beryl Bardwell. "Charles!" Kate exclaimed again, more loudly this time. "I thought we agreed." But Kipling was shaking his head. "Beryl Bardwell," he said with a chuckle. "I have read your stories in Blackwell's and enjoyed every one, and the aunt too. Aunt Georgie, Lady Burne-Jones, will be pleased beyond words to know that you are here, and will absolutely insist on meeting you. You really must come up to the Elms. This evening, shall we say? We are not in a situation to invite guests to dinner, but I can at least promise dessert." Kate could feel her face reddening even more. Although her stories had wide readership, she was not accustomed to hearing them admired, and wondered fleetingly if Kipling was having fun at her expense. "Oh, but she began. "I shall not take no for an answer," Kipling said. "Our family has recently been joined by a new young person by the name of John. He was a rather loud voice and vehement of manner, but we would be quite pleased to introduce him to you if you have no objection to infants. In any event, there is nothing else to do in Rottingdean but count your blessings and admire the children. Dessert at the Elms offers about as much temptation as you will find anywhere in the village." He paused, looking reflective. "Although there is this body on the beach, and speaking of mysteries, I've just been told something in which you might have a professional—" There was a clamour from below, and Kate turned to see that the trio on the beach was at the point of being joined by a fourth, stout, red-faced constable dressed in a blue serge uniform and a tall helmet. He was hurrying down the beach, waving his arms and hailing them angrily. "What's he saying?" Kate asked. "I imagine," Charles replied, "that he is telling them to leave the body alone until he is there to see the matter. There might be clues." Kipling gave Charles a swift glance. "Clues? What are you thinking?" "I understood that the body is that of the Coast Guard from Black Rock," Charles said. "Since he was an official of the Crown, the constable would want to make sure that he died by drowning, and not from some other cause." Kate frowned, wondering what Charles had in mind. "What do Coast Guards do?" she asked, curious. "They are supposed to guard against smuggling," Charles said. "Although I doubt that there are many smugglers hereabouts, it has been a long time since the repeal of the excise." "Perhaps," Kipling said, looking thoughtful, "but the traditions of smuggling die hard. There are tunnels, you see, and ghosts. At least, there's one ghost. He lives in our cellar." "A ghost?" Kate exclaimed. Kipling smiled. "Of course, smugglers are not the sort to lie quietly in the grave. Do come this evening, and I shall see if we can entice a ghost to manifest himself. The boy has told me a story about—" Kate had been watching the scene on the beach, and now she turned to Charles, plucking at his sleeve. "Charles," she said, "I think you should offer your services to the constable." She glanced at Kipling with mischievous intent. "Charles is a photographer, you see, but a very skilled photographer. His camera has helped to solve several important crimes." "Is that a fact?" Kipling inquired, looking interested. "Yes," Kate said, with exaggerated emphasis, "and it is quite well-known fact that he is remarkably skilled at unraveling mysteries, and has been the means of bringing several killers to justice." She lifted her chin, glad to be even with her husband for revealing her secret identity. "In this case, Charles, it might be useful to photograph the dead man. There might be clues to his demise. But you'd best hurry, because it appears that the constable is about to—" "Kate," Charles said gently, "don't you think you're overdoing it, my dear? The constable has its own methods of criminal inquiry. He would surely resent the intrusion of someone else, especially someone in an unofficial capacity." No, I quite agree with your wife, Sheridan," Kipling said briskly. "It would be a pity to waste your investigative skills." He turned toward the stairs. "Constable Woodhouse may be a trifle hard-headed, but I'm sure he'll be glad of your services. Come, I'll introduce you, and suggest that proceedings be delayed while you send for your camera. And while we're at it, perhaps you should like to hear something else of interest concerning the body." "Something else?" Charles inquired as he went down the stairs behind Kipling. "What is it?" Kate asked, lifting up her skirts to hurry down the stairs behind the two men. "The boy will tell you," Kipling said over his shoulder. "He's a fair storyteller."